I appreciate the chance to be here today and talk a little bit about my research, and I wanted to express particularly my appreciation to Professor Edwards and to Mr. Leonard and to the Humanities Center for generously funding my research. Basically, the grant that I received was utilized based on existing research. I expanded it further into an article, so that was one part of this project. And the other thing, it was very helpful to me as I was making a final round of revisions to my book. So since both of those come out of the same project, I'll talk about the project. My central case study is on Lebanese Americans, and more broadly, it's a theoretical model that I applied to other diasporas as well. So the central research question of my work is when, under what circumstances, and for what purposes host governments utilize diasporas to advance their foreign policy agendas. So I basically look at cases where a host government takes a group of diaspora representatives and what they have to say and uses it to promote its goals internationally. Well, initially I started out doing a survey of the phenomenon, and it turned out it's something that's not really addressed either in the literature on migration and diaspora or the literature on ethnic lobbies, but it's something that actually occurs broadly. I.e., host governments utilize diasporas in cases all over the world. There's cases in Tanzania, in Uzbekistan, in the United States, in Iran alike. It happens in cases of democracies and authoritarian regimes. It happens in cases of security, diplomacy, commerce, public relations. And I basically argue that this kind of interaction occurs under a uniform set of factors, which is kind of the theoretical model I propose. And I look at primarily mutually beneficial relations. So there is a set of cases where diasporas are used kind of as in a prisoner of war setting, where you have refugees that are compelled to fight in military operations such as the Afghans in Iran, etc. But I look at kind of the mutually beneficial sets of relations. I tested a model with 8 case studies. My primary research is on Lebanese, and this is where that article is also focused. I also looked at the Iraqi diaspora in the United States and in Iran. I looked at Cubans, both under the Carter and Reagan administration, which were utilized for kind of opposing political goals, but very much in the same fashion, where the government engaged the groups as long as they had these positions coincidental with the US government. I looked at Iraq in the case of the invasion of Iraq in 2003, and also in the Iran-Iraq war, so then the relationship with Iran in the 80s. And I looked at Syro-Lebanese in Brazil, which has made a compelling case for commercial relations between Brazil and the Arab League, so that was kind of with a commercial emphasis. So, I wanted to mention the Iraqi diaspora example. I'll primarily talk about the Lebanese case, but because we're all familiar with the 2003 Iraq War, the disaster, out of that mismanaged occupation came ISIS, came Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which later morphed into ISIS. So this was, I have a chapter on that example. It was initially kind of very brief, and then one of people that were reviewing and giving me comments said you need to expand that because it has to do with the Iraq War. But basically, I look at how the Iraqi National Congress, which was initially a diaspora organization funded with, created with US funding in 1992, by the time the Bush administration had neoconservatives, which were very supportive of its position. So the Iraqi National Congress helped sell the Iraq War primarily to the US public and partially to the international public. So this is a picture of Ahmed Chalabi, who passed away 2 years ago. Here he is with President Bush and former Iraqi President Jalal Talabani. Here is State of the Union, where he was seated as honorary guest by First Lady Laura Bush. The Iraqi National Congress, only between 2000 and 2003, in 3.5 years in the lead up to the war, was awarded more than $303 million after the State Department didn't want to have anything to do with them. They were moved under the Department of Defense funding. But basically, I look at the ways in which the Iraqi National Congress helped promote that war. And it happened in a variety of ways. They helped supply intelligence, which was most of the CIA was suspicious of that intelligence, and the Defense Intelligence Agency was not. But they helped supply intelligence which was later proven to be false, and which was one of the main premises on which the US went to war in Iraq, the WMD. They secured defectors, which were supplied then, and these defectors also made statements. You probably remember the famous 2001 article to Judith Miller in the New York Times. It was by a defector supplied by Iraqi National Congress. The Columbia Review traced that in a year and a half, more than 100 news sources in in places like CBS, Charlie Rose Show, the New York Times, the LA Times, etc., had information originating with the Iraqi National Congress. It was also a U.S. intermediary in dealing with other Iraqi exiles, and basically was primarily used for public relations. The outcome of that is, as well, as John Hopkins estimated in a recent study, 660,000 deaths as a result of that Iraq war. So this is just to illustrate that this is not an insignificant phenomenon, and one of the things that's evident across the cases is the ways in which a group of the diaspora becomes spokesperson for the diaspora. So in that case, they really didn't represent Iraqis at large or the diaspora at large, but because of their overlaps with the administration's goals, they were put in a position where they became the spokesperson for the Iraqi diaspora, and this is something I've observed very much with all the other cases, including the Lebanese, where a select group of people who have a small group of activists all of a sudden become spokespersons for, in their estimation, 2 million Lebanese, more like 500,000 Lebanese, and the Lebanese diaspora at large. So these self-appointed spokespersons become kind of a vehicle for what the host government wants. And these are some facts about selling the war and hundreds of news stories that, in which the Iraqi National Congress was a source. Later asked, do you regret it? Ahmed Chalabi said, oh no, we're heroes in error. It's okay, we're in Baghdad. And we all know how that worked out. So from the literature on diasporas where I situate my work, I draw 3 propositions. One is that basically diasporas emerge as significant entities in international politics. That has happened post-Cold War, and what I look at particularly is how that can happen with endorsement of the host state. So when host governments kind of deal with those groups, how they actually make those groups temporarily prominent, and then that goes away after the interaction usually does. The other thing is, in my cases, confirm that they emerge as self-interested entities. So we have this idea about the diaspora being there for humanitarian goals, the diaspora being there to help. Diasporas are very self-interested. They have their own goals and agendas, and something that they push ahead with that interaction is very much, it's in a self-interested manner. So diasporas are usually not out there for the broader betterment of humanity, but for their own interests. And the third one is the heterogeneity and the cleavages. All diasporas are very heterogeneous. If you look at Cuban Americans, the pre-1981 wave, the ones that came between 59 and 81, differ from the post-1981 wave. So there's issues of generations of migration, there's issues of social class, there's issues of ethno-religious, particularly in the Middle East, etc. And those are replicated in the diaspora. And in the case of the Cubans, of course, I have a chapter in which I look at the Cubans under Carter and under Reagan. In the case of the Cubans, we hear the voice of the pre-1981 generations because they're more well-off, more established, and because the Reagan administration pushed them to the forefront of fighting communism. So that's another one. But basically, and they also are still skeptical of an opening to Cuba. But basically, these cleavages from the diaspora are very much replicated in what happens both in the country and outside the country. And what I looked at is a kind of counter to the ethnic lobbies. In the ethnic lobbies literature, a group of people approach the state and say, what can you do for us? What can you do for Armenia? We'll provide votes, we'll provide campaign contributions. Can you do something, send aid to Armenia? I look at the opposite phenomenon. I look at where the host country goes to these people and says, hey guys, you've been knocking on doors, we really didn't want to have anything to do with you, which is the case with the Lebanese groups I looked at in the 90s, but now we kind of need Lebanese to promote our policy in the Middle East, and the Bush administration, I looked at that case, and now they involve those groups, so I look at the opposite side of that dynamic. So when, under what conditions, and for what circumstances are those host governments utilizing diasporas? I looked at the different ways. I developed a classification. They can legitimize or constrain. I looked at legitimizing cases. It can be individual diaspora members, sometimes as groups, and sometimes those groups are very much created. The American Lebanese Coalition that I looked at was created partially at the behest of the Bush administration. The Cuban American National Foundation, by a number of versions, was created by the Reagan administration. So sometimes host governments help push those organizations into the forefront, and sometimes it's individuals they support, sometimes it's already an organized group. They use them domestically for promotion and internationally. There was dealings between Indian Americans and the Bush administration in promoting the Nuclear Act, which was domestic, and also between branches of government. In the case of Reagan, the Cuban American National Foundation, the House of Representatives generally was very much opposed to Reagan's policies, so he needed the Cuban Americans to kind of push certain policies of kind of a stringent policy of non-engagement and anti-Castro Internationally for PR and public relations during the Cold War, there were emigres that were used for security interests. One of my cases deals with their Supreme Council for Islamic Revolution in Iraq, which utilized Iraqi exiles in Iran in the 80s and 90s in the Iran-Iraq dealing. So that was a security dimension. I look at diplomatic bargaining and classification and commercial relations. So basically, I argue that 4 factors have to be present for this mutually beneficial utilization to occur. The first and the second have to be in place. The homeland has to be an area of interest to the host country, i.e. the U.S. has to be interested in ousting Saddam, or the U.S. has to be interested in, overturning Castro. The second one is that there has to be a convergence of interest. So basically, when host governments choose groups, they choose groups that have the same interests more or less. So there has to be a large degree of that. They have to be in place. And then I also argue in terms of the characteristics of the people, that those are people that have a connection to the homeland, familial, to a political party, to an organization, etc., and that have high levels of social capital. And of course, the sociologist, very much like Pierre Bourdieu, and I also draw on his work, the level of interconnectedness to others that allows one to have credit in this collective. The more connection and high social capital there is, the more likely that there will be this utilization, because that means that those are people that will be more valuable to carry a message to an audience, to deal with elites in the homeland, to deal with the media, etc. And this is the social capital definition of Bourdieu. So I looked at specifically in this article at UN Security Council Resolution 1559, which was a resolution passed in 2004 by the US sponsored that together with France, and the idea was to get Syria out of Lebanon. Syria had controlled Lebanon post-1991 after the Civil War, because Hafez al-Assad helped with the Gulf War, and it was kind of a reward for, and of course Syria has traditionally influenced Lebanon historically, but Syria had controlled Lebanon, except for a small area that Israel occupied until 2000 and it withdrew. But it had controlled Lebanon for the 15 years prior to that, and basically the Bush administration wanted to punish Syria for not acceding to the Iraq War. So Bashar al-Assad said domestically this isn't sustainable. If I go along with the Iraq War, that would be kind of suicide. So unlike the case of the 91 war, he didn't go along with that war, and kind of then the West moved to oust Syria from Lebanon. So, and then after that security resolution was passed, in the beginning of 2005, you had domestic protests, which helped after assassination by Syria of a former Prime Minister Hariri. So I looked at how Lebanese Americans became involved in lobbying for this, and basically the pattern was for years they had knocked on doors in Washington, and nobody in Washington wanted to do anything to do with them because the status quo was against what they wanted, and now all of a sudden when the positions changed, these Lebanese groups were involved. So why is Syria important to US policy? And why were they utilized? Well, it's important to U.S. policy because it's to the north of Israel, and the U.S. cares very much about Israeli security because of the Hezbollah influence and arms, which are targeted in the resolution. It says disarmament of militias, and that's, it doesn't explicitly say Hezbollah, but it envisions Hezbollah. And because of the Syrian control and influence in Lebanon, and the Bush administration wanted this to be a case to give democratization in the Middle East. So it spelled out withdrawal of foreign forces, sovereign control over Lebanese land, disarmament of militias, and a free electoral process. So there was also an overlap of visions. So the US had an interest, and the two groups, American Lebanese Coalition and the organizations, and these and the Bush administration had an overlap of visions. The organizations are listed here, and then there was also the World Lebanese Cultural Union. They certainly had groups of activists behind them, but they represent a small segment of Lebanese Americans. Their positions are actually at odds with what most Lebanese Americans believe. Their identity as Maronite Christians is at odds with the identity of a lot of, and not only as Maronite Christians, but their vision of kind of Middle East politics is very different than large parts of Lebanese Americans. So a lot of what they represented was not really the Lebanese diaspora or Lebanese, and when they would say, we represent the Lebanese, they would go and testify in front of Congress, they would go in the National Press Club on behalf of Lebanese. Lebanon is very diverse, and even if you just put it into a pro-Syrian, anti-Syria camp, at best, they would only cover kind of the anti-Syria camp and only a fragment of it. So, but they became these unofficial spokespersons for on behalf of the larger diaspora, to which they didn't have really a mandate. And the World Lebanese Cultural Union does have 10,000 members in 32 countries, but that's not the Lebanese diaspora. They also kind of underestimated the number. Experts say the Lebanese diaspora might be 3 to 4 million, but the estimates place it up to 12 million, and they certainly took up the large number. So Walid Maalouf was appointed alternate delegate to the United Nations General Assembly, promoted very much to Bush administration positions. They were invited all of a sudden to kind of meet and submit documentation, so they met with Undersecretary of State for Arms Control John Bolton, Elliot Abrams at the National Security Council. They were invited to the United Nations, so all of a sudden they actually received access. Once there was a change of policy, they received access and were invited to meet with UN ambassadors, with the ambassador of the United States to the United Nations and others, to say on behalf of Lebanese, this is a petition and we support this legislation. And it was really on behalf of this small, very organized, very determined, very kind of savvy group of activists, but it wasn't really, or it was a portion of the Lebanese. They were also invited to meetings at the Department of Defense. They wrote letters to G8 leaders in Seattle, Georgia. This is what we want, the Bush administration position of freedom in the region, our position on behalf of the Lebanese. This is a letter from President Bush in 2004, congratulating them. There was a Maronite Congress going on at that time. Dr. Anis Karam appeared at the Republican National Convention and Al Jazeera, and he talked about how we support the Bush administration agenda for freedom in the Middle East, and that was something that was spoken about, and he kind of appeared as a representative, and even at times on behalf of Arab Americans, and certainly they weren't, if anything, their positions would be contrary to most Arab Americans' views. So this is kind of, this is a letter to Condoleezza Rice. Some of the members met also with Condoleezza Rice and Deputy Stephen Hadley, invited the National Press Club to give talks to that event, to that effect. So basically, I argued that, that this case and the others that I looked at, these interactions there's a pattern there, and they take place for mutually beneficial relations under a set of circumstances. Homeland is an area of interest of the host state, convergence of interests of diaspora members and the host government, as well as high levels of connection to the homeland and high levels of social capital. The Reagan and the Cuban American National Foundation is another example. There was also existing literature on that, a great deal more. I did more work in the Cuban American Committee in Carter because that was less covered. It was the same kind of engagement when President Carter tried to open towards Cuba, tried an opening, and then Castro didn't really, Castro didn't really reciprocate. So after 1980, the doors were closed, but it was a similar pattern of interactions with different political spectrum. And theoretically, also, I kind of identify this phenomenon, and I try to theorize about it. I talk about the increasing role of host states and how diasporas emerge in transnational politics with the endorsement of the host state. And I have an economic case of a State Department initiative, the IDEA initiative, started in 2011, which is a multi-diaspora initiative. And it's for the first time where it's an open initiative where the host government says, for economic purposes, diasporas, please come to us. We want people with high levels of education and high levels of skill to be involved in homeland development. So that's kind of a proto version of these other cases that I've been talking about, and that's kind of a new, it's mostly economic. And it's not utilization, but in the future, but it is kind of with an eye to future development of U.S. economic goals, mutually beneficial. And this is my book that will come out in July 2017. I was very excited because they just put it on Amazon like 3 weeks ago. So I've been, it's kind of, I don't know. I like the cover. It was something that the Oxford University Press developed in terms of how it looks. And the article is in a second part of the revised resubmit, and after the reviewers have spoken, I will know if it's accepted or not. And thank you very much.